We'll call the regular meeting of the Charles City Board of Education to order. Have roll call vote, please.
Walker.
Here.
Dice.
Here.
Freund. Absent. Mack.
Here.
Maycumber. Here. Connect. Here.
We'll move on to agenda item 2 is reading of the district mission statement by Vice President Dite.
Our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower students and staff in order to maximize learning.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
I would ask just to reorder one item, and that would be to move number 11 up and put it after number 6.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the alteration of moving 11 up to after 6.
Second.
A motion is second to approve the agenda as corrected. Roll call vote, please.
Dice.
Yes.
Mack.
Yes.
Maycumber.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 4 is welcome visitors for public comment. I would remind any visitors who care to make comment to please familiarize yourself with the printed instructions prior to speaking. Are there any public comments tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5. Comments by board members and superintendent. Dr. Cox.
Thank you. This morning, the Governor's STEM Advisory Council announced that the Iowa Big North Consortium has been given a STEM Best expansion grant of $20,000 to add 2 more schools to our group this school year and then up to 4 more schools over the course of the next 2 years. Charles City will be sending 5 students to the All-State Music Festival next month. We want to congratulate Derek Labarge, Carter Johanningmeyer, Hannah Kenningsfeld, Ruby Peterson, and Valerie Allison. Also, congratulations to our cross-country teams. The girls' team will compete at the state meet on Saturday, and then 3 boys will be competing as individuals, Gavin Connell, Mason Dieter, and Nick Litterer. We have regional volleyball here tomorrow night against Webster City, 7 p.m. And lastly, how about dinner and a show? Tickets to the fall musical are on sale, and a limited number of tickets to the Farm to Fork dinner, sponsored by the Charles City High School Food Grid class, also are on sale. Learn more at charlescityschools.org.
Excellent. Comments by board members? Anything? No?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 6, which is the Project 18 presentation.
We probably should mention for the viewing audience as well, we are in the high school ag shop right now. This space has been hacked. It's been redone to support multidisciplinary learning, and tonight we are pleased to have a bunch of teachers and students with the Project 18 initiative that's underway here to speak, and so I'll invite Brian Bolin, it looks like, to come up first, and he can introduce the group.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Johnson, the high school principal. We have a pretty big group here to talk about Project 18 and some of the different things going on. We'll have students, when they come up, they're going to speak, can introduce themselves. But as you can see in your board packet and then past knowledge of kind of how this thing came together, we've got a quarter of the year underneath us with the Tiny House Project and Project 18. You're kind of seeing part of it in terms of the new space and how that'll impact this project. We're really excited about how that turned out. That was something that was not expected when we took this project on, started planning here last spring. So this is going to be a neat addition to it. I think Brian's got some specs and some blueprints and then also some pictures of the tiny house model that we've created down in his room. If you haven't been down there, next time you're in the building, just sneak in there. It's kind of a trip right now, and when the walls are up, it really is starting to come together. So got a lot of different people you might hear from tonight, but we're excited to share what we got going on.
Just a few things. I've gathered a few pictures, and I'm just going to kind of fill you in on what our first quarter has been like. Project 18 tiny house in our design class, our design portion of it. And here's my students today standing inside of our 3-dimensional tiny house that they've been working on. And to get to this point right here, I was going to kind of talk you through where we started, what we've been up to, this quarter. We basically started by watching the tiny house programs, anything we could find on tiny houses. We watched episodes on TV, the kids researched stuff on YouTube, they did their own research on their own, and we just started brainstorming ideas for the first 2 weeks. After the first 2 weeks, I kind of wanted them to come up with their own blueprints. None of them had ever done any drafting or formal drafting or anything like that. It was one of my favorite things in high school. So we did a little lesson on drafting. And their first drafting designs didn't look much like this at all. They were pretty rough. They were not to scale. They didn't look real well. So we had a drafting lesson, and we spent a couple days figuring out 1 inch to 1 foot, and I taught them some drafting things. And so what we got out of this is I'm able to teach them more than just art, more than the design things. They're learning, they learned how to plumb up a wall the other day. Not something you typically learn in art class. So basically we went through designs like this, okay, and this was one of my students. And if we move up to this, you can see the 3 that I have here, their designs, their layouts, all to scale. And then you'll notice the little tags that we have on this. And I took this idea a little bit from BLDD and a little bit from the way our principals a lot of times run our meetings, and that's where we vote for things, where we put different colored tabs on. So we not only voted for the best design, I didn't want to just say, okay, yours wins. I had 13 kids in the class, 12 kids in the class. I wanted to vote on aspects of their designs. So we incorporated 3, 4, 5 designs into the final design. So you'll notice Isaiah's here. He got the best original design with his staircase. And he's going to show you some stuff that he did next. But then when we voted, I combined our designs into one final design, taking into account how things flow, how things needed to be measured out. 32 inches for walkways and different things like that that sometimes the kids didn't account for. So I kind of made sure all that was in there. We laid it out in my art room. Once we went from this point, we laid it out full scale, 2-dimensional. So we had a 2-dimensional blueprint on the floor in the art room. From the 2 dimensions, we started building 3-dimensional. And the kids needed to research how big a stove are we going to need? There's 5 different sizes. Are we going to get one that's 30 by 30, 26 by 26? What's the height? Is it going to fit? So once they researched that, we started building 3 dimensions. And I said, let's put some detail into these. Let's make this feel so when you guys come to my room, you can walk around in this space. You can see where the sinks are going to be, where the oven's going to be, and even our toilet. We're pretty proud of it. That's a pretty nice 3-dimensional toilet we have. And a couple of girls made a toilet paper holder. Bathroom sink, filled with soap and a toothbrush. And then that's our sliding door. That's going to be our main focus of the house. And then that's kind of the backside of the couch. I don't know if you saw. We've even got the flat screen TV mounted up here, opposite the couch. So that's what we've been up to this quarter. This is to the point we're at. It's going to help Jim and his class, because they're going to be able to walk through the space, and they're going to be able to see what we've done and build it the way we've kind of created it in 3 dimensions. Isaiah, and he'll show you his design. But what he's done is he's taken what we've done, and he's what are you using?
SketchUp. So I'm Isaiah Tilton, sophomore here, and what I've done is I've taken our model that we've come up with and turned it into a third-dimensional object. So on here, this harder. I've just come up with a basic design. It's not final, but it's sort of an idea. And as you can see,
That's fine. Take your time.
We'll have them come over.
And then, yep, and then when you get a chance, you can show everyone.
and I've gone to the inside and designed it so that now if anyone needs to know right now what it'd be like, they have a basic idea of everything that'd be on the inside.
You can show them that too, yeah.
Sure, you saw someone before.
This is the main.
Yes.
Now then, what they don't have on there is the loft, which I have created here. So what's in here for the loft is not final for that. But I designed it basically so that, so I noticed this, you have a small little box basically on wheels. How do you change just a box into something else? So I elongated the roof out each way and then added more windows to give you the full open feeling. So you don't feel like you're enclosed in a room.
Awesome.
Outstanding.
How long did it take you to put that model together?
This model, to get the basic part of it, took me a couple days.
Wow.
And now I'm trying to 3D print it and do testing with it.
Awesome.
And you're putting it together, did you find anything that they hadn't quite had right with specs? Were you finding things that were?
Problem is, they only have the floor plan, and I only know very little how, what they have.
Sure.
So this is kind of just basic general idea from me,
Sure.
which will probably change over the next few months.
Awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's an excellent sketch. I mean, it's, Dr. Cox was just showing us some pictures of, a potential phase 2 high school stuff, and it looked, I mean, it's that kind of thing, that we just paid architects a ton of money to create, and, we have students in our high school that are working similarly and creating similar products. That's just blows me away.
This is actually an easier program for people to use too.
Sure.
I found out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach myself other programs which are a lot harder.
Awesome.
Complicated.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I guess I'll just say that I'm lucky enough to
Yeah,
have
come on up. Come up. You gotta come up, sorry.
I was gonna let him do all the talking.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
thanks.
introduce yourself and,
I'm Melina Davis, and I teach the journalism class, and I'm doing the writing, the documenting component of Project 18, and I'm lucky enough to also have Isaiah in my journalism class. So he is a wonderful resource because he's doing all this hands-on, and he can come explain to us what's happening, and he is kind of leading us on the documenting of this process. So I'll actually let him talk about it.
All right, so as of right now, I basically have a book sort of in mind that at the end of the year will be published, hopefully. And right now I've just got basic chapters outlined, kind of going through each process and phase of this whole project. And a few weeks, well, last month, I started to promote it by putting it in the Spirit newspaper, which it was the front page cover so everyone could see it. And right now it's writing a few of the chapters for the book. Can't really do much now since we haven't really got much yet for the house, but I've started writing a few chapters.
Excellent.
Very good.
I know Mr. Bolin had said that they did lots of research, binge watching, tiny house, all that fun stuff. Did you even find a book out there when you were looking for resources on building tiny houses?
Even when we went to that tiny house convention, there was one book, and even the author was there. He said the construction and it's 15 years old, and it was an old, it was an older book, and no, I haven't seen a whole lot out there that's new and fresh and put together by kids, and
Well,
so
because I've picked up some do-it-yourself books, and what's so really neat about the ones that are done now is they'll have QR codes or links to online additional YouTube videos. So for those of us who might not be able to read the instructions, we can watch the actual building too. So I would say when it comes to also documenting, maybe videotaping some too, to include that in with the process.
Yeah.
And actually, one of our books that we took for inspiration from High Tech High had QR codes on every page. So we'd love to do that. We're also trying to publish a blog where we have an address, and anybody working on this project can make a blog post kind of documenting those steps. And we could include them in the book as a first-hand account of problem solving or just different things they've run into. And we're trying to come in here a couple times a week. When this is done, we plan on working out of this room, and then the kids can, write and see what's going on. And yeah, don't have to stop in. We'll be here. So.
Yes, we're going to be stuck in the Spanish room.
Yeah, right. We're in the Spanish room. So it'd be really cool to see it firsthand while it's happening. I think that's it so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, just kind of getting it out there and telling people about it. We want to do some of we're going to work with Justin later on in the year to do some of the press releases and get people in here and seeing what's going on and having kids do this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up, all of you.
Okay. I'm Jim Lundberg. I'm the high school agriculture teacher, and this year I'm teaching an agriculture construction class. And we got into we came up with this tiny house Project 18 idea, last spring, and some of you have heard the whole process, so I won't get into that. And then we got into this hacking thing with BLDD and Prairie Construction. So this quarter's been really interesting in all what we've done. And these guys will talk more about the trailer, but that just finally came in about 2 weeks ago. You guys unloaded it? And we couldn't really start on it because we were waiting for the construction company to come in and work on this, which I don't know if you wanted to talk about this tonight. Yeah. Okay, I had Dominic go around, wave Dominic. And there's a room up there now. We've actually used that room several times this week in some of my other classes. The tables and chairs are up there, and they were up there practicing their parliamentary procedure earlier most days this week. But you got one of those stools, Dominic? You want to grab one of those? And BLDD did a really good job, I think, of contacting companies and getting them to donate some furniture. And so right there, we got some nice chairs, some nice tables, so that like Miss Davis's class can go up there and they can watch the tiny house being built and sit up there and write. This area here where people are sitting, and the carpet is there. And they got the carpet donated, and I've talked to someone about helping us put the carpet in, but we got to get the painting done first. They said paint, then carpet, so, which I understand that. And they just, Jean, and all of you know Jean, just sent me the colors that she wants that painted. So I just got that at the end of last week, so we'll work on that. And then on top of that, we built the new FFA building, and we lost this machine shed out here behind the old high school. So everything that I had other places for storage for, all came to the shop here. So we have a lot of stuff in here. And it was stored back in that corner. So we've done a lot of cleaning and a lot of moving around, and we're getting there with that. And so one thing, she walked in here and we had these old Army tables that have to be about 70 or 80 years old, and they were gray. And she said, can you put wheels on them? And we said, absolutely. So we did. We put those on there, and then we took the old tops off, and we used 2x4s because they were inexpensive. And some of these guys went out to the farm and they took a paint gun and they sprayed them blue, and we built brand new tables. I looked them up. To replace those would be about $1,500. We probably have about $40 in each table. Wow. And so now we have those that we can use in here. So those look really, I didn't see it at first. I thought those were old tables. And now they look really nice. And so we've been working on that. That old 60-year-old countertop over there, we redid that whole thing. So what I'm saying is what we've been doing since school started is like getting everything ready in here to start building this, because they'll tell you about the trailer. And then I think that's it. I'll turn it over to these guys. Some of them are here. You can come on back down, Dominic. Thank you. And they'll just tell you a little bit about what they've been working on. And you want to go tear that one top cover off, Blake, off of that. And then those are they can talk about some of the things we're going to be doing in class this year. They're going to go along with Project 18. And one last thing I'll say, we're also teaching the, along with Project 18, the whole idea is this one big project with project-based learning. And not just this class, but maybe some other classes. So Mrs. Lundberg and I are doing the food grid class, which we'll have, and that's what this contraption over here is today. Jacob, thank you for putting that together, and Blake for telling us the corn was too wet. This is corn off of where the baseball field ground is. This is corn off that. We're making our own cornbread that can go with our own honey. And so, but we started grinding today. Mrs. Lumber got a grinder for her big mixer, and it's just too wet yet. So that's a makeshift corn dryer that I think is working, but Jacob will tell me what he thought here a few minutes ago when he was coming to town. So I'll turn it over to them.
I was in New Hampton for a doctor appointment, but driving back, I saw all the smoke. Like, oh, Lumber blew up the high school with our corn dryer. I mean, I'm going to talk about our Project 18, our tiny house project that we've started on. We haven't gotten much into it yet just because the time. We've been spending a lot of time working on redoing the shop. But we got our trailer parts in about 2 weeks ago, and we've done a lot. Like, originally our plan was to make it like 20 by 8.5, and we shrunk it down, and we only made the width 8 because the DOT requires you to be under 8.5. So we went to a tiny house convention in Colfax, Iowa, a month or two ago, and we learned, you know, there was a lot of presenters, and we picked up a lot from that day about how to, you know, shrink our thing down and make it more appealing if we go to sell it at the end. Or we learned just a lot about tiny house in general that we haven't even thought of. So through this class, we're going to learn, it's like project-based learning. We're going to learn a lot of construction skills, you know, electrical, plumbing, that kind of thing. We're welding and welding the trailer all together ourselves, and so the art's designing, and then we're pretty much the ones building the whole thing.
So I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So as you've been building this tiny house, what have you found the most challenging from working with the guys?
The most challenging right now is in the beginning. We were trying to decide on sizes and stuff, just getting everyone's opinion to match up on certain things. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty good group of people that we're working with, so we usually agree pretty well and work together well. So
I had heard that there was a height too. You can only go so high.
Yeah.
You come up with a really great solution for what to do on some of that.
Yeah, I don't remember the height right off my head, but we definitely had to make that into effect.
We get all of you to at least come up and introduce yourself with the mic.
Talk about where the trailer came from and how it went about in the trailer.
We got the trailer from Thor Manufacturing. Here's the blueprint for us. Ben Rottinghouse helped us a lot with it. He builds trailers for a living, so that was a great resource for us to figure this out, because it's, I mean, if your trailer is not safe, then it's not safe to pull down the road.
I'm Blake Frost, so Ben builds these trailers for his business, and he has all the frost busters on your way out to the fairgrounds on 14 there. And the trailer is, everything's built the same except it's size different. So it's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna be rated for this tiny house, and it'll have, we can actually put more stuff in it than what the tiny house will hold, and the trailer will still hold up.
you want to talk about the weight distribution and how that worked out with the art students?
Well, basically, we had to work together with the art students and everything to figure out axle placement and everything, so we have downward pressure on the ball pitch, so that we had to, I don't know, do you guys think that that was sort of a setback to this project, that we needed to figure out the axle placement?
Yeah, that was, so, you always want more weight on your vehicle, so we had, like, to put the washer and dryer and the stove, all the heavier stuff up front, move the axles back, or it's not centered, but it's back centered, so that way you have weight on the vehicle.
There's a math equation that I don't understand, but it's, you have to have 50% or something. It all has to be like equated out for the whole thing to get your weight distribution right. So, I mean, that was a juggle in itself, but with our axles, they have some bearings in them that'll give us some leeway on that. So,
Excellent.
Have any of you guys ever worked with the art students before?
no. We had this team bond. Well, I mean, it's not really team bonding, but it's like a team bonding kind of thing at Brian Bowen's cabin. And it was all the ag students and all the art students and the journalism students. I'm gonna be honest, there's kids in the school I've never seen or met before, so it was kind of cool to meet different people and get to work with them. I guess it prepares us for being in the workforce later, so we don't know these people. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm Jackson Bogey, by the way. Sorry. I just took the sign.
And you gentlemen also help with the construction of
Yeah, we're in Lumber's class.
assistant. I heard you were great assistants, great for getting things done and working with Estes and the construction guys over here. That was a great experience, both ways. They're really proud. Anybody get any job propositions?
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I was gonna share.
The other Mr. Wallen still has.
Good.
Oh,
Darren Bolin, I'm a business teacher, and I have one student in my class for the Project 18, just because we kind of got started with this a little bit late for the business area. So he isn't here tonight, so I'll talk about what Cale Hemaseth has been doing. I've had Cale in accounting and computer apps. So to start with, we've been kind of focusing on how to do Excel and using formulas and how to format different business documents so that he's familiar with that. And then he's doing the invoices he did the invoice for the trailer. He puts that into our new system. He also has some sheets that are down here in this area, down in the art room where all the students are keeping track of all the hours that they're putting into this project. So we're going to track labor cost. He's going to keep track of all the equipment that we purchase, all the appliances, materials. So we're going to have a direct materials cost along with that. So he's learning a little bit about cost accounting along with the computer apps, and also we're trying to figure out if we can place a dollar amount on the labor. So he's going to do some research on that, what the going rate is for different jobs, and the skilled labor versus the unskilled, and so forth. So he's doing some research on that. He's done a lot of research on trying to find all these different appliances that are the size that the art department drew up. So he's been researching that quite a bit. And last thing, I guess, he helped with writing up a grant. Okay, and we received a $1,000 grant from Excellence in Education. So
awesome.
Trying to grab some funds there.
Awesome.
very good.
Awesome. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lumberg.
What do we have left?
Is Danae going to talk?
I'm going to wrap it up for you.
Okay.
So just to kind of bring a little closure to you can see the amount of student impact, but then the teachers that are involved. We also have Mrs. Hervel out of Science Department, Mr. Pittman in Social Studies. Mrs. Lumberg is back there as well. The FCS department has played a part in this whole kind of endeavor. Mr. Bolin kind of mentioned that we got started a little bit later with the business side of it. Because this is all brand new and we're just kind of scratching the surface on how all these things work together. We were lucky that our schedule worked out the way that it did in some areas that this many people could work on the project. But also to bring reference to the rest of the hacking that you see of this space. So take a look in here before you leave with some of the technology that we're using, 3D printer, some of the different things in there. Our new latex printer that Mr. Bolin, I don't know if you mentioned, I couldn't hear it quite everything. He's getting up and running with that'll be used district-wide, but substantially for this project to see the signage and kind of the marketing feel that some of the kids are. 5 art students met with graphic design artists from BLDD to start that process. So of all the things that we plan to happen in this project are happening, but there's a lot of auxiliary factors that we just didn't plan for, and they've been really good for our students. When we built this, we had Jackson and 2 other students, a gang of students who were able to work in real time with architects and construction workers for 2 days straight. Not something we can replicate in any curriculum that we offer. So those have been neat additions. So a lot happening. We can only scratch the surface in a brief presentation today, but we'll be back in the spring to show off the final product, and we're looking forward to it. So. Any questions for me on this? I have very little to do with it except for telling them to go ahead and try. So
I think there's a lot of scheduling on your part, so thank you for that.
Yeah, we got to get better at that every year. That's a big thing coming for next year. And then Peyton, you're coming up.
You need to introduce yourself at least, yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
That's a separate project, right?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great. No, I don't think so. But I'll wrap up with sharing some thoughts that I had with this project and an experience I had this summer. I know, and I talked with Mr. Lundberg and Mr. Bolin had to leave, that much of this project was born on a flight home from California at High Tech High. And I know, and I had heard from Robin about, all of the work that went into just the rattling off brainstorm of all this stuff. And I had an experience this summer, and I've shared this before, but it's appropriate here again, that we had a meet and greet coffee thing in Hy-Vee this summer invited the public to come in and just sit and chat with us, any questions or whatever. And this topic had been in the paper that previous week. An elderly woman I sat with for quite a while, and she just raved about this project. She thought it was the best idea she'd seen come out of a school in a long time. She never skipped a beat and went right into very harshly complaining about how we spent the money to send our staff to California on that trip. And I just got a big smile on my face because I couldn't have planned her to do that. I said, the investment that we make in our staff to do those things are where these ideas are born. And she sat there like, she got it. It took me, but then she was like, okay, I get it. On top of that, where we sit today with this project, I think back to last spring, we went through a really painful process of reinventing this into the building and how we are delivering these products to our students. Mm-hmm. And I think, those of us that sat at the board table at that time had to put a lot of faith in our administration that this was going to work out and get us to where we are. And I sit here today, just wowed. I can't say enough that I just thank you all for pulling this together. I think it's just a phenomenal project. So,
yeah, thank you.
And thank you for everybody involved for taking an opportunity and taking it far beyond our expectations. Mm-hmm. So far beyond our expectations.
Thank you, guys.
Looking forward to watching as it progresses.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. We'll move on to what was moved, agenda item 11 for an update on the North Grand building title work.
So Danielle DeBauer is here. She is the attorney working on this title work on behalf of the district. Jim Davis also is here. And I'm going to invite Danielle to share some of the legal things that she shared with me today as far as where does the title process sit currently with the North Grand building.
So there's one particular issue in the title, actually back from the 1920s, I believe it's in 1928 when they actually first built the middle school. There was one lot that they didn't give proper notice to the family members of an estate, which messes with the title here. So to fix that, we have to do a quiet title claim, which will have to go through the court system. Our big problem with that is going to be service, since those people are now passed away, so we have to serve their heirs, and to do that, we'll have to serve probably the towns that are listed in the title where those people were, which is separate states. So we'll be needing to ask the court to do publication, probably by newspaper, but we have to get approval for that. But that's probably going to take 90 to 100 days once that's on file. So there's also some issues regarding some streets that were vacated, and we're working with Brad Sloter in the city to fix those issues. But the main one is this lot, which that there's not clear title to. So you want to add to that?
Well, just to give you some perspective on this, this is Grand Avenue here, and then 5th below, and then C, and then 6th Avenue. And we had a 1931 vacation done by the city for this part right here, but it never got recorded in the courthouse. And there was an error in that little document. I dug it out of the clerk's office at the City Hall. This is the alley in Block 4 of Charles City Addition. It was never vacated. So it's these parts that are read, and then this, the documents that were done after the tornado in 1970 for this red part here, they were imprecisely drafted. It says they're vacating B Street from 5th Avenue to 6th Avenue. And what they really should be saying is they should be saying from the north line of 5th Avenue to the south line of 6th Avenue. So we can correct that fairly easily. But like Danielle was saying, this was owned by Charles Pfeiffer, and he died in 1923, and his estate was probated, but the heirs were named, and there's never any proceedings as to where they went, no estates on file, so it's basically left in the heirs of Charles Pfeiffer, and that's why Danielle is going to undertake the quiet title action. But once again, in black is the perimeter of the entire property, and I know I mentioned to you the last time I was here, you considering getting a survey for the property. I hope you'll still take that under consideration so that eventually when we go to do an arm's length transaction on this, we're all set to go.
Yep. Absolutely. Questions for either?
So Danielle, you're taking care of all of our legal action?
Yes, for this action, we're working on getting the quiet title filed, and we'll have Mr. Cox sign that.
Thank
when
you.
it's ready to go. So,
Excellent.
haven't been in this room for 10 years, so it's nice to come back. So.
And so once that's filed, you expect 90 to 100 days, is that what you?
The file date, we should be able to get it at the beginning of November, because it's already the end of October. We should be able to get it filed. And then again, service will be the next problem that we would have.
Sure.
So, and we'll go with whatever the judge tells us to do on that. That's the safest way to go about that. So.
Excellent. Awesome.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, thoughts?
Just one.
Yep.
So from the date that you have it filed, it will be 90 to 100 days, or after they receive it?
After they've been served.
Okay. So it depends on how long it takes to find them to serve them.
Yes.
For their heirs, and
So-
then from that date.
Yes, and so we have to do our due diligence in finding these people. Again, we don't have estates to know where they were. The last known, I think one of the states was Michigan, and I can't recall the two others, to be honest. And there's the towns listed. So at this point, that's where we need to serve them. We also have to get permission from the court to do that by newspapers. So we have to do an application for that. That's never been a problem with the court system, but we do have to ask for it. So,
When did this hit your desk? When did you receive this?
oh, we've been working on it for a while. So,
I would expect a property that's been in this single ownership for this long, that this isn't anywhere out of the ordinary for issues like this to arise.
it's, quiet titles are an easier way to get these problems that are this old out of the way. So, it's really the only way without knowing who to go to.
Yep.
But we are working with Brad Sloter, the Assistant City Attorney, because it is going to take action on behalf of the City Council in order to either vacate this or clean it up on some of these things. And they'll have to give notices and all these kind of things, but they aren't as nearly as time consuming, and the city will cooperate. You know, this is somewhat of a routine bookkeeping matter, and but it just came to light and we actually started taking a hard look at it.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, anything further? No?
Thank you.
All right, thank you both for your input. We will move on to agenda item number 7, the Uni Field Experience visit.
Information item just to let the public know that on Tuesday, October 24th, we have 80 students from UNI who will be visiting us for the day. They're education majors, mostly sophomores and juniors. We also have 6 faculty members who will be with us as well. And so this is a unique opportunity for the Charles City Community School District to market our programming and to give these future teachers a chance to get out of the Cedar Valley and get some experience in a rural school setting.
Excellent. I'm sure it'll be a hectic couple of days, but it's really nice to show off
It will
things
be.
that we have. And
Yeah.
how did we come about them choosing us, or I mean, it's the first time we've done something like this, right?
It's actually just the second time that the College of Education has done something like this with their students. And I would say we were selected. 5 of the 7 administrators are UNI graduates. We've got great work going on here, certainly with the facilities and the academic programming that we share on a very regular basis. It's caught the attention of a lot of people, and UNI said, hey, we want to get our students out of the Cedar Valley. Let's take them to some place where some innovative work is taking place.
Excellent.
Very good.
Thank you. Move on to agenda item 8, the cross-country trip. Action item with a recommendation.
So we've got our cross-country coaches here to answer any questions that you may have about their upcoming trip next August. It is something that they do every other year, and it's out to Estes Park, Colorado.
Hi, I'm Ryan Rommler, boys cross-country coach.
And Amanda Rommler, girls cross-country coach.
So every 2 years since 2010, we've taken a trip out to Colorado. We usually take between 35 and close to 50 students out there, and we stay at the YMCA of the Rockies in Estes Park, Colorado. We spend a little bit of time in the national park. It's a way to kind of kick off our training. It's a method of creating kind of a team bond. We take chaperones out with us. We do some nature programs. We work with the National Park Service out there. Over the years, it's been a wonderful trip to be able to take students on. A lot of times students have never been out of the state before, and for them to experience Colorado, get to see elk, bear, if we're lucky, deer, and then start some training, and just spend a little bit of time away from kind of the hustle bustle and everything else that takes place here is a real rewarding experience. So we've priced it at $475 this year, gas and hotel and everything, gas and YMCA. Those are the only 2 bills we have really. Go up. We like to give kids about 10 months notice or so they can save up. It's not a required trip. Meals are included with their stay at the YMCA. They get 3 buffet meals a day, which is almost overload by the time all said and done. But it really works well because it's kind of roughly the size of like a Wartburg type campus there, and it's self-contained and lots of activities right there. And so when they have downtime, they're right there on campus. They're not going too far. So we emphasize spending time outside. That's the purpose. Put the cell phone away, get outside, be around your teammates, and enjoy your time there, and create a bond. We've had very positive reviews back from students and from chaperones that have gone over the years too.
Awesome. I know every year I see pictures and hear rave reviews, so you know, I thank you guys for taking the opportunity to do this stuff. I mean, you don't have to do these things, and you guys choose to go above and beyond and do this kind of stuff, and it's just one more experience that our kids get to experience. So
you said you take 35 students?
Yeah, our very first year, we were probably in the 50s. And then I'd say the second and third trip were probably in the 40s, and this last year was our smallest. It was 30-something plus a few chaperones. So with, we each have a larger team this year, and will next year as well, and it's really underclassmen based. So we're anticipating numbers will probably be higher again just with that, and also with the level of kids that we have. I mean, like where we're performing and stuff. We're going to be coming off of going to state twice, and then he's coming off of, you know, he had Gavin just by himself, and now he had 3 qualifying, so his team's kind of growing. So we expect those things to kind of contribute to have more participation.
It's fabulous. What's your ratio to student to chaperone?
Depends on the size of the group that we're taking out there usually, but we have the 2 of us and then usually 4 other chaperones that come out with us.
I'd say
four to 6 that usually come out with us. So.
One for every, what would that be, like 8, 9, something like that.
Awesome.
Probably better than what's required under board policy or suggested.
Well, and this facility is a campus type of facility. It's unlike some of our other trips that are wandering streets of New York or countries outside of the United States. A little more controlled.
They are far more likely to run into kids from Iowa on that campus than Colorado. We usually Dowling is out there, Dyke Hartford's out there, Mason City's out there.
Cool.
So,
when we're walking the streets, we go one night, we let them shop in Estes Park, and we're like, 2 hours. And then I've ran into people that I know on the streets of Estes Park there, you know, so it's kind of crazy, but it's just a popular place to go.
Awesome.
I move to approve the 2018 high school cross-country trip to Colorado as recommended.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve the 2018 CCHS cross-country trip to Colorado.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion?
You have to vote yet.
Roll call vote, please.
Mack,
Yes.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Dyke,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Agenda item 9 is an international student.
I don't speak Finnish, but I will do my best. I believe her name is Julie Jokipi. She's a student from Finland. Her godmother went to Charles City High School as an exchange student in 1985-86. Had such a great experience that now this student would like to come and experience the school year here in Charles City as well. She is not going through an exchange group, so it is an independent arrangement because she specifically wants to make sure that she's here. So she will be paying tuition if the board accepts her as a student. And again, I believe Julie is how the first name is pronounced.
Joe, say the last name.
I think the J's are a Y sound, so I think it's Jokipi, but again, I don't speak Finnish.
That's how it's going to get recommended.
Anybody willing to venture?
I recommend to accept Julie Jokipi to the Charles City High School as a full tuition foreign exchange student for the 2018-19 school year.
And I'll second that.
A motion and a second to accept the foreign exchange student from Finland. Roll call vote, please.
Dyke,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Maycumber.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Middle school landscaping.
Mr. Spurgeon is here with a couple of students to talk about a project that is being recommended for approval tonight.
All right, hello, I'm Brett Spurgeon. I'm the other ag teacher.
I've been working with these kids in my landscaping class on a project, working with Jeff Otto on designing a landscape design for the front of the middle school, just kind of all along there. And I'm going to let them do all the talking about it. They recommended this to the Building and Grounds Committee last Thursday, and so I'm going to give the mic over to them.
Yeah.
My name's Blake Frost.
I'm Jackson Bogey.
I'm Jane Reeves.
So, excuse me. But
Like, actually, I have to come bring the mic to you if you're going to back up.
Yeah.
We can hear you, but it's to make sure people on TV will be able to hear you later on when they play it on Channel 4.
So the landscape project at the middle school. So we wanted to kind of bring out the front entrance of the new middle school. Kind of pull it out. Some things we want to talk about is what our cost is going to be and kind of why. So one of the big costs is going to be the mulch, the tree bark mulch, and kind of where the waterfall in. So the waterfall, on this waterfall, for winter upkeep, you just have to pull the pump out.
And the kit, the Pounds waterfall, it's like a 6-foot stream to be built in a box, but that comes with everything that you need to put the waterfall in the side of the box. That comes with like the lighting, the water runs down, and everything you need to pump in.
Yeah, so like the pine bark mulch, that was kind of a large chunk of money of this. But with the mulch, the upkeep is a lot easier because you don't have to lay the net down, and then if you ever have to pull weeds, which is you don't normally have to. You don't have the plastic coming up with it. But like something with the pine bark that like underneath it's like underneath the pine tree there's normally no grass and weeds underneath it. So that's why this is going to be beneficial because then there's less upkeep. So we want to do edging.
You see, you guys have started kind of now a little bit. You do where you're starting the process. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we tried to go out today, and it was just a little bit too wet yet.
Yeah.
We're cutting the process of cutting side out.
Pretty much what we want to do is just, so you already have like an awesome school, and we just want to bring like more curb appeal to it. Like it looks better. Like it already looks pretty cool, not gonna lie. But like this just makes it look a little better. And what we want to do with the waterfall, it just like gives it a little spot. Like so it attracts your eye, but it doesn't take too much away from like a big, beautiful school. But like we just want to give it a little something to spice it up a little bit.
And so some of you guys are probably thinking, well, a waterfall in middle schoolers, what are they going to do? You think you're going to go in there? Well, we kind of chose this spot for the waterfall because when it goes back, but like the cooks, when we're there stationed when they cook, they can see right out the windows there. Mr. Gable's office is right here. It's right in front, so it's like it's not off to the side. So it's kind of it sticks out to you. And so if there's a kid wanting to do something with it, then it might limit them to do it a lot more than if it was off. They'll say that on that side.
And that retaining wall that's around that, explain why you guys put that there.
Yeah, so there's I'm gonna say a 4-foot drop from the level of concrete to the bottom of the windows, and right now the dirt when it rains is washing onto the concrete, so we want to put that retaining wall in, and so that way we can keep it from washing into the concrete.
Excellent. Yeah, they'd come last Thursday to Buildings and Grounds and showed us these pictures and things, and, you know, we thought it was just, you know, really nice, and they put enough work into it that invite them to come and kind of give you guys these visuals and see what we've got coming, to really help, like you said, add so much curb appeal to the building and that, so.
There's a couple, I think it's orange daylilies, kind of chose them just as a common color, so I guess it's orange. We thought that was going to do with going there.
Good.
The waterfall, we're using boulders from their house. Like we're kind of like bringing like the rustic feel to it a little bit. So.
And it's a lot cheaper to go get a rock on the field than it is something else like.
And we thought about like the area below, like you could put a couple like tables out there, so other people could sit there and they can listen to the waterfall if they really wanted to. Just make it like a nice area for everybody.
Excellent.
What Jason pointed out was that when they're up on the top balcony working out there, they have the sound of waterfall.
Absolutely. Anything further?
And then, like, one of the reasons why, you know, if you look on that cost sheet, some things are maybe a little high, is because some of the things that we're going with and working with Jeff Otto a lot, his recommendations were to go with things that it might be a little higher cost initially, but then when it comes to maintenance and upkeep, it's going to be lower. Like going with the paver bricks instead of the plastic, the hard black plastic around the outside of that. Because that way when you're going over with a mower, you know, you're not going to have a lot of damage to it. You don't have to do the replacing. Using the pine bark because it acts as a natural herbicide, and so it's going to keep that weed pressure down so we don't have to have some maintenance of it. And then the landscaping classes every fall then would do the majority of the maintenance on it.
Awesome.
Then just tell us again where the funding is coming from for this.
The funding was coming through Mr. Gable at the middle school, and then Jerry Mitchell with Transportation and Grounds and Building and Grounds said that he would be able to go forward to it. We were all surprised that Mr. Gable and Jerry were for the waterfall. I told them not to put too much stock into that, but yeah, they were both for it, and so that's where that would be coming from.
Awesome.
The portion that's underneath that goes along the competition gym, is there any concern there since if we progress with phase 2, that area will become something other than what it is right now, that'll get just ripped up possibly? I mean, optimistically within a few years, could we better use that somewhere else where we know we won't be going at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that.
We talked about that.
Question that I asked the guys last week, and so, Blake Jackson, what's the?
Yeah. It's just, I want you put all this work and all this beauty into something that we just turn around and I watch the bulldozer come in and rip it all up then within months of it being finished.
Right. So all of them are perennials, so they can be removed, and they can be transplanted. So when that comes, we can just transplant them to a different spot. And then we can move the mulch. We can reuse the mulch. And so after the building project is done, we can put the mulch back down. And then we'll probably have to buy 2 more plants. If we really don't want to transplant them twice. So then we can redo that area.
Excellent, yeah. I thought that was a good answer as well.
Well, I've seen it done with homeowners. They do the same, you know, and I was hoping that's what I would hear from you, is they do. I've had homeowners that go over to the neighbors and ask them for a strip of their neighbor's yard, and they move all their plants from around their house, they plant them in the neighbor's strip right there, get their addition all done, and then move the plants right back in and save thousands of dollars in the process. So that's awesome, excellent.
Any additional?
This project goes to show that, you know, even though we didn't budget anything like this into building the new middle school, that's just fine, because now we're allowing high school students to have a learning opportunity and do it in a class, and we have administrators willing to allow them to use parts of their budget to continue on with this.
And I'm pretty sure if BLED would have come to us with the waterfall idea, we would have nixed it.
We would have nixed most of this if it had been from the architects.
It's not for us to decide.
And then just something I wanted to, real quick, so these pictures were stuff that Jeff Otto put together, but these guys made their own designs over all these things. Then all these plants are ones that they did the research on, if these plants would work in the area. So, you know, they did all that research that goes into it as well. And the only problem, we got pushed back kind of a little bit. I've been suffering from a little bit of a health issue, and then this week it's wet, so hopefully we'll be able to get in there and get something done yet this fall.
Awesome. Any additional comments or questions?
It needs it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're looking at it, you're looking at something, there's a need, and you're executing. It's just phenomenal. Thank you.
Motion?
Move to approve the middle school landscaping project as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the middle school landscaping project as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight.
Thanks.
Move on to agenda item number 12, the 2018 Summer Facilities Project. Is an action item with an exhibit. It shows the list of things that we had talked at length about in Buildings and Grounds last week. You know, a pretty good description of what they are and the estimated cost for things. Point out that what the total is on the bottom there is fairly well under the annual allotment that we have scheduled for that year. So it allows flexibility for some additional projects to be considered in the future, similar to this or any other things that may come up at times. So
The walking trail that's listed, is that at which school?
It's to connect right out here to connect the south part of the high school parking lot around this east side up to the north bus loop, so that kids who are walking have a safe, short way to get from this area up to the bus loop.
and that's an excellent example of, you know, where that extra gap comes in with the fund. You know, Jerry had estimated $50,000 or $60,000 of cost there, and he's gotten bids back for about $25,000. So that's where we've already seen some leeway built into that budget.
Looking at that pavers or cement?
It'll be asphalt.
Asphalt.
Yep.
Excellent.
Asphalt trail. So
I'll make a motion to approve the 2018 summer facility project listing totaling $701,940 as recommended.
Second.
a motion is second to approve the 2018 summer facility projects. Roll call vote, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. We'll move on to agenda item, I think we'll actually table agenda item 13 with Terry not being able to be with us tonight. She had the information prepared for that. It is in your exhibits if you want to review it between now and the next meeting. So, moving on to agenda item 14, the IASB legislative platform.
The School Board Association encourages each school board to have a discussion about the legislative platform. Robin serves as the delegate. That just gives her, your thoughts before she goes into that delegate assembly, and then she's prepared to share the Charles City position. So, Robin.
I do not have this, what we come up with for legislative. I could not find my notes as what we have approved for me to take.
Mm-hmm.
So to discuss which legislative priorities we have prioritized, I do not.
I know we can talk about the things that we've typically had in the past and the priorities that, and how this process works, like they said, is this is discussed at the delegate assembly at the state convention. And then, essentially all of the school districts across the state say these are what we believe to be priorities. Coming out of that delegate assembly then ends up being what, as a state unified source, the state, Association of School Boards will then have essentially marching orders as to what they will spend their time primarily lobbying for at the state capitol on behalf of us, essentially. So.
Well, I know our top priority was to secure an advanced vision for education proposal of repealing the December 31st, 2029 sunset on the statewide penny sales tax. And I know that we have had discussion. Mm-hmm. There has been discussion on the Hill on that. So, last year I think we thought we were close. Mm-hmm. And we hope that maybe this year, I look forward to that being the number one priority this year. I think what would be good is, there's some discussion about putting together a governance committee. I know that's the last thing we need is another committee. But I know Jason is going to go with me in the delegate assembly. That'll give somebody else an option. And maybe we should, and it could only be the two of us. It wouldn't have to be a board or a group of any more of that. To maybe look at some of these, because it's not only approving or prioritizing what legislative priorities we want, but it's also looking at those priorities and wording that is there and seeing if that can be improved on, and make it more palatable, make it more passable. And there could be, I think we could possibly aid in that area. And also writing our own priorities.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, that, you know, the elimination of the sunset or the extension of the sunset on the state sales tax has been important to us in the past, as that was one of our primary funding sources for the building of the new middle school. That, you know, funding stream is set to sunset in 2029. A number of districts across the state have tried to do or looked to do the same thing that we've done and borrow against that revenue to do a big project. As we get closer and closer to that date, their borrowing ability becomes less and less. So that's become a higher priority for all the districts across the state. So that I expect as well for that to be the number one thing to come out of that.
It would be nice because we all know we've been told what's happening with supplemental state aid. And we, of course, that's been the number one priority for years, but we also know pretty well where we're going with that. The days of asking for 4% or something like that, we know we're not. It's not realistic. And I hope that pushes the save option higher up on the list, and maybe a bipartisan type of issue that can come out of this year session.
Thoughts, questions, anything come to mind? It's just a discussion item, so if you had thoughts or questions, and it doesn't have to be today either. So
I think you'll be fine. We've done it multiple times well for us. So.
Well, I think we're getting seasoned enough in these issues, having traveled to the Capitol, having firsthand accounts with legislators, representatives, knowing how they think, what they process. We may well be able to help come up with some resolutions or some agenda or some alterations or alternative or proposal resolution, amended resolutions, there's what I want to say, amended resolutions that may help get things passed.
Excellent.
Looking at for this next year.
Excellent. Okay, if no further discussion, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 15, the School Budget Review Committee application for open enrollment out and LEP instruction beyond 5 years. It's an action item, and we'll have Dr. Cox explain exactly what we're doing here.
We can make application to the SBRC, the School Budget Review Committee, for the items that you've mentioned in the title here. And it's a request for supplemental amount only. And if you choose to approve this tonight, then you'll have the option to levy property tax to fill this shortage when the budget is approved in April of 2018.
Excellent. Comments or questions, or is there a motion?
Once again, this is as needed. But if we don't now, we can't.
If you don't now, you can't.
Can't later. And we've been here before.
Worst case scenario, and just a routine.
Nothing we're pulling out new here.
Yep. So.
I'll make a motion to approve the SBRC application authorizing the request for modified supplemental amount for open enrollment out students not on the fall 2016 certified enrollment in the amount of $39,546, and for LEP instruction beyond 5 years in the amount of $19,230.64.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the recommendation. Roll call vote, please.
Mack?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 16 is consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second it.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda items listed below. Roll call vote, please.
Mack?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. 17, correspondence and miscellaneous.
None tonight.
None tonight. Number 18, important upcoming dates.
Again, we have tickets on sale for the fall musical. This is Red Ribbon Week across our 4 buildings. We've got the state cross-country meet Saturday. No school on Monday. It's parent-teacher conferences from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we're back at our regular spot at the middle school for our board meeting on November 13th at 6 p.m.
And I would just remind, I know Robin did it today, that in this time period to make an attempt to meet with your teacher that you had drawn for the review. So, okay. With that, we will adjourn at 7:11. Thank you.